Hello and welcome back to my scrap room. My name is Jennifer Perry. I'm going to do something today that I have never done before. I'm going to start the video by showing what the card in my brain was supposed to look like. It's not going to look like this when we're done. I was searching for a thank you card to send to, and I know I have to be old school, I don't know why, but to send to the people that sent cards and flowers when my dad passed away. I find in my heart that I need to send a thank you card because these acts of kindness were not expected. But they were very nice. And that sounds really weird, but you know what I mean. People didn't have to, and they took time out of their day to do that. And it got me through a very difficult period. So I felt the need to send thank you cards so they understood what that meant to me, because it did mean a lot to me. So I looked through my favorite card maker, Jennifer McGuire, and I went back about 5 years in her videos and found a card that I was like, this is perfect. It uses scraps. I can use elegant colors. It'll be perfect. I can do this. I'm going to show you that sometimes what you try to make doesn't always work. The only part of this card that actually worked was the background. Everything else about it, when I put it together, I was like, nope. The embossing is messy for some reason. I could not get it to emboss very well. The little inserts for in here, like the blue and the sugar plum, and this one here would be crossed, so that would be very difficult, and the pewter, they would not come out of they wouldn't come out of this without ripping. My husband's putting his 2 cents in. He just texted me. He's on a business trip. But it just would not, it wouldn't work right. It looks nasty. So this is getting thrown away because it's not working. But we are going to make it work. So the first thing I did, and I suggest doing this on a larger piece of paper and then cutting it down. This is actually a little bit difficult to work with. This is going to be ultimately 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. It's a little bit more than 4 1/4 at the moment, just to give you a little bit of working room. But it is on my huge roll of score tape. Now this roll of score tape I picked up from scrapbook.com. It was like 40 bucks, but it's 6 inches by God knows how much. If I was to try and do that with this roll, you can see how many it would take to do it, and it just didn't work right. So the first thing we're going to do is take the backing off. And this takes a minute since I have my nails on. And I find it easier to work cross-section. The second thing that I did is I went through and I just made various pieces of strips. Now the colors I'm using actual colors that I picked out for a specific reason. I'm using Bluebird, I'm using Sugar Plum, I'm using Ballerina, and I'm using Pewter. Now you can make these cards using any scraps you like, whatever fits you and your personality. There's just a reason I'm going with this particular color scheme. And the first thing I'm going to do is just lay down my strips. And unless you press down, this will give you a little bit of wiggle room. And I'm just stacking the strips. I am not even paying attention to width. I'm just mainly concerned with, at the moment, with pattern. Flip it over. Do the other side. it's not long enough. Oop. I just don't want to put two wides next to each other. That would look goofy in my brain. That didn't work out well. Pardon me while I fix something. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is just flip it over and use my bone folder and just make sure it's adhered very well, especially these itty bitty corners that are going to have just a tiny piece of paper hanging off it. Now you can just use a scissor and cut. I'm going to grab my paper trimmer and do this really quickly. And the newer your blade is, the better. When I started this, I did not realize how dull my blade is, so I'm getting feathered edges. But I have ordered new blades, and they should be here today. And one more. My husband calls out playing the cutter guitar every time I make that sound. And then I want to trim this down to 4 1/4. When I originally cut these, I was going to be using the horizontal orientation of my card, and I changed it, so my cuts are just a wee bit off. Alright, so let's grab out our long pieces, set those off to the side, and these we're going to put in the trash bin. Now, the next step, and I'm going to do this part off camera because my cutting machine is plugged in, I'm just going to go over and die cut this really quickly. I'll be right back. Okay, so now you're going to have your thanks, which is normally your sentiment, stuck in your die cut. So just take a moment, pop it out. You can save this. Do not throw it away because it can be used on a different card. And it has adhesive on it. So you're basically getting 2 cards out of one design by doing it this way. Give me a moment to pop this out and I'll show you. Now Jennifer McGuire, when she does it, her die is a little bit bigger than mine, and she suggests keeping these little, oh, there it is. She suggests keeping these little bitties. I can never get them out without tearing them up, so I'm just going to pop them out and I'm going to throw them out. If you have a die cut that's a little bit bigger and not quite as delicate, by all means, that one may have to stay in because it's stuck. But save this little piece. We're not going to use it for this card. Our die cut is now almost clean. Pop these out. set my die cut off to the side because after I'm filming, I have about 112 of these cards to finish making. And we're going to set this to the side. Now the next part that I have is a card base. This is a retired, close to my heart card color. It is one of the grays, Gray Wolf, Heather, something like that, I don't remember. I just pulled it out of my stock because it went well with my other colors. And it is cut at 4 1/4 by 11 and folded at 5 1/2 to make a top folding card. Now, you know I normally will emboss my name on the back or stamp my name on the back or something to that effect. Can you see what I did? I embossed it completely upside down. So it's elegant, but whoever gets this card, my monogram on the back is going to be completely upside down. I had no idea I had the card upside down, so that's just a little funny to whoever gets this card. Now this is easier to do if you have a stamping platform, but if you don't have one, you can do it by hand. I just have a nice silhouette flower image of your choice. This is one of my favorites. And this is one that I lean towards whenever I'm making my sympathy cards. And this is not a sympathy card, but it's a thank you for sympathy cards that I've received, or flowers or whatnot. So it just struck me. I'm going to take my Versamark, and I'm actually going to ink this twice. So I'm going to ink stamp to get really good coverage. Let me double check my placement. Yep. But because this is such a large stamp, I'm going to ink it twice. Take my lid off before I forget. And before I forget, just pop this back into place so we get a good second image, and ink it again. Now I'm going to be using clear embossing powder because I just want a tone-on-tone effect. I want it to be a shadow, basically. So I have my clear embossing powder. I just keep it in a tub and a little spoon. Now I did forget to do my anti-static pillow. Every time I have embossed today, I have forgotten it. I even have it out of its container. So I just have a little paintbrush dry. This is only used for embossing. So there's no possible way of transfer of paint. Make sure I have all the embossing powder up. I'm going to turn my gun on for just a moment and emboss this. Okay, let's let that cool for a moment. But see, it just has a tone on tone, just very elegant. While that's cooling, we're going to take our piece. I'm going to double check my measurements. Yep. And I'm just going to put some adhesive on the back. I am not joking when I tell you that I have literally been trying to film this since 9 o'clock this morning. It is now 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Everything I touched would not work. And some days you have that. Some days the design in your head does not match what you're able to put on the paper. And I was very, very frustrated. I was about to throw in the towel. And I stopped and had some lunch, came upstairs, cleaned my space, because you know I don't like working in a space that looks like 3 tornadoes have gone off. And rethought, okay, I'm using somebody else's design. It's not exactly my style. If I was to make it my style, what would I do? And this is what I came up with. So I'm going to place this down like that. Now you can tell I have a little bit of feathering just because the blade is not new. On the others that I make, the blade is going to be new when it comes in later on today, and I won't get that feathered effect. Now this piece here I have actually made several months ago. It's the same cut, same everything, but I cut it out of black cardstock with the sticker on the back, the score tape on the back, and then I just embossed it several times with the ultra thick embossing powder. So basically it looks like a die cut. And I was just sitting here one day listening to a book and thought, let's just make a bunch of these. Don't know what I'm going to use them for, but I feel like playing, I feel like practicing, let's just do that. So I have a ton of these already made. My original idea was to do the same concept with these. But when I realized I didn't like the, not with theirs, I'm sorry, with white. But when I realized I didn't like the way that looked, I switched over to the black. And we're just going to pop this right into the negative space. So it has an inlaid look. And then we're going to take a card insert. The insert is 5 1/4 by 3 3/4. And I placed it wrong. I'm not used to doing it from that direction. But no one will ever know. Okay, it's supposed to be scooted up just a tiny hair. That's okay. What you're basically giving yourself is just a little room to write. That's about it. And there you go. See, this is what it's actually supposed to look like. It's like that. So these are my little thank you cards that I'm going to be sending out to friends and family. I hope you enjoyed the design. Thank you so much for spending your time with me today. I know you have 112 things to do, and the fact that you just took a little bit of time out of your day to spend with me makes my heart happy. Thank you so much. Until next time. Bye-bye.